everybody. We're back here at Learneezee. Hey, Rico, how are you doing, my friend?
It's been too long, but I'm glad to be back in action with you on the Learneezee cast.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and it's been almost a year that we released our last episode, and I'm really curious to know, what you've been up to. I kind of already know, but the audience doesn't.
Well, this has been a situation where a long time has passed since our last episode. Life has happened. I've switched jobs. I've moved. And, really have just been looking to continue my personal transformation and personal journey. I'll be sharing more, of course, in upcoming episodes, but it's just really great to be back here in a space that we've worked together on. So looking forward to today's episode and interview.
Oh, cool. Yeah, at the moment, the audience doesn't know, but Rico and I did meet live and in person this summer in New York. You can at least let the audience know what you've been up to. As we do have a lot of folks that are expats, at least.
Yeah, as you mentioned, sorry to interrupt, Pat, but as you mentioned, we did have a chance to see each other for the first time in 3 years. You came to New York, and it was fantastic to catch up and see each other in person. It's always great to see people online if you can't see them in person, but nothing, of course, is better than seeing someone in person. But ultimately, I've decided to move to Colombia.
Wow.
I've been really inspired by you living in Germany, my twin brother Antonio living in Colombia. I've got another friend, Kyle, who is from Colorado and living in Peru.
Ooh.
It's just nice, I think, to really experience life abroad. It's something I've missed. And so very much looking forward to that here in the coming couple of months.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to catching up with you from Colombia. Wow. It's a big decision. We'll have to talk more later on about, maybe in other episodes, to be honest, about what inspired you outside of, your brother being in Colombia to visit.
Of course,
Colombia.
yeah. I'll get into that in later episodes. But how about you, Pat? How have you been?
There's been a lot of changes. I have a new day job with a great company, so that took up a lot of my time this year. And of course, Learneezee.com, my passion project online school, is going through some changes. So I will probably speak about that more in further episodes as well. To be honest, these changes are necessary for our vision of what Learneezee is supposed to be about, bringing meaningful learning to a whole audience of online learners. So there'll be more to come in that area from my side. And hopefully we'll have some guest teachers as well with cool new courses that will be available in the Freiburg area mostly, and maybe online. Let's get into another section that I love, and you have some great topics here, Rico. Tell me a little bit about what's on your mind, Rico.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's been on my mind, and of course has been a big part of this time where we haven't done an episode together, has been this journey of self-discovery and self-development. I don't recall if I mentioned in the last episode that we recorded if I had injured myself running. And so I was unable to run, not totally sure what injury I sustained, but it was painful to run. So I decided to not run because I had previously injured my hip and had surgery on my hip. So I knew what that was like to have to go through that ordeal. Mm-hmm. And in that time that I was recovering from my injury by not running, I was looking for an alternate activity that I could do, an alternative exercise. And I wanted something I could do from, if not my home, something close to my home. And I happened upon a YouTube channel about yoga for men. Ooh. And it's become a major part of my life. So I've been doing yoga every day for the last year. However, I did recently injure my shoulder and needed surgery on that, not due to yoga, but that's also taking me out of doing yoga right now as I recover, doing physical therapy. But that's really been a big part of my life, as well as really developing a morning routine that I stick to every day that incorporates yoga before I got injured, meditation, studying foreign language, and just really trying to have a routine that allows me to start my day, win the morning, own the day, so to speak. So those are, I think, the two big things that have been a part of my life over this last year that have become a major part of my life.
Oh, awesome, Rico. I tried yoga once. And I tried it several times, once in New York, the hot room yoga, Bikram yoga. I did it once. I did it during lunch once, 10, maybe 15 years ago, and it was so intense. The hot room yoga was so intense, I couldn't even work after my lunchtime yoga session at Bikram.
Yeah, they're going to take a time out.
It was totally like, wow, I was exhausted. And then I never went back because I was like, I can't find the time to do this hot room yoga. But of course, over the years, I've done it a couple times with my partner at her gym and also on my own just to get the stretches in and so on. And it's always been, something that I always said, I should just do it more regularly. But to have a routine, right, to set that routine up so that you don't have to think about it, it just becomes an automatic part of your day. That's a smart way to go.
It's given me a lot of purpose in terms of just starting my day, right? It's the one moment in your day, typically in the morning, that you can control. Everything else, once you leave your house, is when chaos can ensue. I think just sort of having that time, though, where you get up at the same time every day, you take a shower, you get ready, you have breakfast. Those things are going to be part of your daily routine regardless if it's a routine. But in terms of just your morning practice of before, you leave your house, you typically have to, do some sort of activities to get ready for the world. And so for me, just crafting, I don't want to call it an elaborate morning routine, but certainly involving activities that I look forward to every day has allowed me to feel better about my morning for sure.
Well, that's great. So it brings us to our next topic about what was on your mind. Language learning, right? Yeah, I think that's something that we did during this year, both of us. I tried to improve my German, even took the B2 exam sometime last year. Yeah, I didn't do so great, but it was a good experience to push myself outside of my comfort zone. And I know you did a little bit of language learning as well. Would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. So that's become a part of my morning routine, is studying foreign language on a consistent basis. What I've realized in this time of self-development is that it's really about doing things on a daily basis to really make it a habit and to really be able to not see the growth in the moment, but you're able to really see how over time you grow. And so I'm still not where I want to be with French, but I've been doing Duolingo every day for over 3 years now.
Yeah, that's great.
But that became a part of my morning routine versus just I would do it at different times throughout the day before I developed my routine. And I've also tried other language learning apps like the Pimsleur app. It's a little bit pricey for an app. It's $20 a month in the United States, so it is pricey, but I feel like it's a really solid app. You basically listen to a conversation between two native speakers, and they sort of pull you into the conversation. You first listen in on you're almost like eavesdropping on a conversation, and then you become a part of the conversations. They pose questions to you, and you have to see if you can respond by repeating what they're saying and responding with an appropriate response. It's interesting. I've enjoyed it. I stopped doing the Pimsleur just because of the cost. I've been going back to Duolingo. But foreign language, like you said, it's one of those things that can get you out of your comfort zone and just push you to become a better communicator, both in the target language as well as your own language, right? It makes you think about, do I know this word in English, for instance? Yeah. Or how do I say this in English? So it's always nice to have that opportunity to practice, learning words.
Yes, that's exactly the case. Yeah, it's just the toughest part about trying to learn a language when you're not a polyglot or you're not a super professional. You have to continuously work at it. And obviously those who are really talented at languages, for them, it comes almost like a reflex to get into the grammar and get into reading and so on, all these things that are really base level things that would improve your skills. But to be honest, not all of us are superstars.
I don't know that polyglots necessarily have a special gene for learning languages. I think it's more than anything, just that's their priority, right? That's the number one thing in their lives, is that they want to acquire languages. And I think once you learn the first foreign language, each successive language that you learn becomes that much easier, because oftentimes, just even if the languages are not related, just some of the exercises or activities that you do become ingrained, and so you build up a stamina, whether it's to study the intricacies of grammar, right, and conjugations and all those fun activities. But there's a few polyglots I would love to interview, so maybe we can reach out to one of them for this show.
Yeah, then let's keep that in mind as we go into our expert corner.
Yeah, but this is a segment, of course, where we interview different professionals, oftentimes teachers, so that you can get an opportunity to know more about their background, their teaching methodologies, the way that they instruct their students, as well as other people who have expertises outside of foreign language that also want to share their skills with an audience. And so I'm looking forward to being able to finish this interview with Richard. And let's go ahead and go to the interview. And welcome to our Experts Corner, where in every episode we interview guests and teachers, people who have experiences as expats. And today it's my pleasure to introduce to you Richard Russo. And I'm going to just start off with a quote. Once upon a time, I did a CELTA course in the UK. This awakened my passion for teaching and enabled me to see the world. So Richard, from there, you decided to get a master's in teaching English to speakers of other languages. You have over 20 years experience having taught English to students of all ages in different countries. And from your experiences, you began to write and recently finished your first novel. In his teaching practice, he likes to read short stories or news articles with students and discuss guided questions. He encourages students to stream TV episodes and take notes of language because it's engaging to talk about in class, and also allows for a focus on grammatical questions as well. So welcome, Richard, to our Learneezee cast. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, guys. Yeah, that was a pretty nice intro to what I've done so far in life. Thank you.
We like to highlight, what teachers have done so that prospective students can get a sense of who you are, not just as a teacher, but also as a person. And so we have some questions we'd love to jump into, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, let's go. Shoot.
Okay. Right. So as this podcast is really about learning in general, but also specifically about languages, we always like to ask our teachers the languages they speak and where they're from. So can you let us know what languages you speak and where you're from?
Well, my Spanish is really good. I studied it in high school and university, and I've lived in Spain and traveled throughout Latin America. I'd say around C1. My German is a little more beginner. I'm supposed to be B1, B1, but it's probably A2. The pandemic sort of made that more difficult to get my German up and running. Yeah, Spanish and some German. I'm from the US. And I was born in the Southeast, but I've lived in New York and San Francisco and all over the US.
And currently you're in New York at the moment, or in the...
Currently I'm in Atlanta.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah, where I went to high school.
So I'll just go ahead and jump in, Pat, if that's okay. So Richard, you mentioned, you've lived in a lot of countries, you've traveled throughout Latin America. Where have you lived and where have you taught previously? What countries?
So I think the first place I really taught was Thailand after I did my master's degree. I was a teacher trainer fresh out of grad school, and we got to work in Thai high schools outside of this sort of fishing village. It was an adventure. And then I went and started my own school in Spain and lived there for about a year. Came back to the States. Eventually, I went to Saudi Arabia and the Emirates after I lived in New York. In New York, I mostly worked with university students in MBA programs and foundation programs to get them ready to take their regular undergraduate courses. And then, where did I go next? Yeah, I've worked in South Korea, and then I made my way to Germany. Germany was calling. Now I'm back in the States.
Wow. Yeah. It's been a long journey back and forth. And I'm kind of curious, did you have any countries that you considered kind of planning roots in, or as an expat, was it more like, this is my, time to enjoy life and travel,
Well, I always felt like Spain was the one, probably my favorite one, mainly because I could speak the language pretty well. That made it easier. Germany was pretty high up there as well. But I just felt like the pandemic, it just changed things in a way. I'm working on getting my Italian passport. And if that does happen, Germany may be back on the map, the menu again, so to speak. I had a wonderful time there. Have you ever been to Spain yourself?
Well, yeah, actually, I met my partner in Barcelona. That's what got me to actually move from New York to to Freiburg. Yeah, so I have a special place in my heart for Barcelona and Spain in general. I like you, I learned Spanish in high school as well and tried to get to I would say I was B2 level. I was never C1.
Okay, nice. I got to live in Barcelona for about 6 months, but most of my time was in Sevilla.
Oh, very nice. Oh, I
Yeah,
haven't visited there. That's a recommendation that I will take up from you.
it's amazing. Yeah.
And you also mentioned that you traveled throughout Latin America. That's kind of where my heart is set. I've lived in Latin America. I have been to Spain as well, but my desire is to return to Latin America. I'm just curious about your Latin American adventures and travails, if we can call them that. Where have you traveled or lived or worked in Latin America?
Well, the place I visited the most was Mexico, which, it makes sense if you're from the US. It's our neighbor. Oaxaca State is where I have most of my adventures, especially a little town called Cipolite. It's becoming more and more well known. Maybe I shouldn't disclose that. Maybe I should. I don't know. Yeah, it started as a hippie community in the 60s, and it actually is popular for its nude beaches, even in conservative Mexico. So people from all over the world enjoy that sort of spiritual, sort of nudist freedom. And then there's the capital city of that state, which is really beautiful, Oaxaca, famous for its mole sauce. I've been to lots of temples in Chiapas and Yucatan state. I like to go see old ruins, things like that. I did 3 months in South America one time. Peru was probably where I spent most of my time in the Amazon jungle. Yeah, that was amazing. I volunteered at this organization. I spent a month in Colombia, which was cool. Not as good as Peru. Yeah, it was nice. And Buenos Aires, I thought was really amazing. Yeah. Have either of you been to any of those countries?
Yes, I've been to I've got a twin brother who is quite the expat. He's currently living in Colombia.
Yeah.
And I've been to Colombia, lived in Medellin and Bogota, and been to Buenos Aires. I've yet to go to Peru, however, and I hear Peru is great on many levels. The cuisine, the Machu Picchu, and so many other reasons, the diversity, etc. So I have a question for you, Richard, just in regards to, you did mention the kind of students that you've worked with. Do you have a particular focus now of the type of students that you feel you most like to work with, or feel like, you really set them up for success in helping them achieve their language goals?
Well, I prefer working with adults. I have to say that. Teenagers can really work out well. I like it to be a mixture. Business students are always fun, I think, because we can talk about economics, politics, the big topics. They normally want to focus on, I guess, high register, high level English as well that they need for their professional life. But I also just like to talk about pop culture as well, literature, art, film, TV episodes. These are really important sources of authentic language as well that business professionals or any kind of student is going to need. It's good to be well-rounded.
It's really nice to be able to engage in conversation about, those topics, because you want to be able to be well-versed and be able to engage in conversations, whether they're professional in nature or more everyday conversational topics. So that's really great to know. In our introduction of you in this episode, we mentioned that you have written a novel. Would you like to just tell us a bit about that? I think it's a unique kind of thing to discuss as a teacher of English.
Okay, sure. Thank you for asking. Well, as an undergraduate, I was an English and Spanish major. I'd always wanted to write a novel. I admired writers my whole life. So it started when I was living in Portland, Oregon, and I was reacting to our dear former president, he who must not be named. I started writing it there, and then I wanted to get out of the US. I needed a break. Many friends had been living in Germany and talked about Berlin. So I was like, what a great place to go and be stimulated. And they need English teachers. So I got stimulated, let's put it that way. And I finished it there. Basically, it's about the director of a modeling agency who is really pissed off with Trump. She sends out a message to her models or her secret agents and other people in New York who can take out the president before Christmas. The person will get $12 million and maybe other benefits. Well, to be more specific, the main characters are a coven of drag queens in Brooklyn. And so there's magic, metaphysical things thrown in. Can't give you too many spoilers, but it sure was a delight and a form of therapy to write during those times.
I completely understood. It sounds like a lot of fun to read. And you mentioned that it's available on Amazon as you independently published it. So if anyone's interested, they can go online and check out Richard Russo's first, hopefully, of many books, right?
Yes. I started the sequel, and the sequel was more focused on Germany.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I want it to be a trilogy, but as I was living in Germany, I was soaking up culture and influences, and I decided to have that be sort of the setting in my second book.
Very interesting. So, Patrick, do you have any additional questions you wanted to ask?
No, I think we covered all of the fun stuff. I don't want to, I want to save some for the next time we get to talk to Richard, hopefully, when he has the second book finished. We'll do a podcast for that one. But yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time, Richard. And if any students are interested in working with Richard from the European side of things, they can check out his profile on Learneezee and then get in touch with him through that. And then we'll connect you to a great teacher. Thank you, Richard, for your time.
Yeah, that sounds great. I look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thanks so much. Take care now.
Okay, bye.
What a great interview. And that, of course, brings us to the end of this podcast. But let's look forward to more great guests coming.
Stay tuned for more episodes, right, Rico? We're raring to go now.
And let's keep learning easy.
Yep, let's keep learning easy.